On a snowy Christmas day, a struggling diner owner extended a hand of kindness to a man who appeared to have nothing, never imagining the life-altering secret he carried. This is a story of generosity, redemption, and the magic of unexpected connections. Before we dive into this heartwarming tale, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to stay updated with more inspiring stories. Let's spread kindness together. Lily Matthews had always believed that hard work and perseverance could overcome any obstacle. But after the tragic car accident that claimed the life of her beloved husband Ben, she found herself alone, struggling to keep their small diner afloat in the quiet, snow-covered town of Maplewood. The diner had been their dream, a place where locals gathered for a warm meal, a shared story, or just a moment of peace in the hustle of daily life. Now, without Ben, Lily's once bright future seemed clouded with uncertainty. Bills piled up, customers were fewer than ever, and her heart felt heavier with every passing day. One cold afternoon in late December, as snowflakes danced in the air outside, a thin, ragged man stumbled through the diner's door. His clothes were torn, his face haggard from days, maybe weeks, of hardship. His eyes, though, carried a quiet desperation, a hunger for something beyond food. Lily hesitated for only a moment before she greeted him with a warm smile. "What can I get for you?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. She could see his eyes flicker with surprise. He was used to rejection, not kindness. Despite her own financial struggles, Lily decided to offer the man a warm meal, something hearty, something that might fill both his stomach and his soul. She placed a steaming bowl of soup and a thick slice of homemade bread in front of him, along with a mug of hot coffee. The man, looking at the food as if it were a miracle, hesitated for a moment, then nodded his thanks and dug in. The silence between them was comfortable, even though Lily wondered what had brought him here. After a long while, the man finished his meal and stood to leave. But before he did, he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an old military challenge coin. It was weathered, its edges worn, but its insignia was still clear, a symbol of Ben's military unit, a connection she had almost forgotten in her grief. The man, with a somber expression, left it on the table along with a note, its words written in neat, elegant handwriting. "Kindness can change the world, one act at a time." As the door closed behind him, Lily stood frozen, the coin in her hand, her heart racing. She didn't know why this stranger had left such a personal token behind, or how he knew about Ben's military service. But something deep within her stirred, a spark of hope, a reminder that kindness still had the power to touch lives in ways she couldn't always understand. Lily couldn't stop thinking about the man and the coin he had left behind. That evening, as she sat alone in the small, dimly lit diner, she traced the edges of the challenge coin over and over, feeling an inexplicable connection to the stranger, to her husband, and to the life they had once dreamed of together. The note's message, "Kindness can change the world, one act at a time," seemed to resonate with her on a deeper level. In the midst of her despair, the words felt like a lifeline, a call to action that she wasn't sure how to answer. As Lily closed her eyes and reflected on the last few months of hardship, memories of Ben's quiet strength filled her thoughts. He had always been the one to remind her that small acts of compassion could create ripples of change. Ben had been a firm believer in helping others, no matter the cost to himself. It was one of the reasons they had opened the diner in the first place, to provide a place where people could find warmth, not just in food, but in spirit. He had always said that kindness was the most powerful currency of all, one that never lost its value. Now, without him, Lily struggled to hold on to that belief. The weight of the bills, the loneliness, and the constant worry threatened to crush her. But the stranger's visit and the coin he left behind sparked something within her, a renewed sense of purpose. Maybe it wasn't about how much money she made or how many customers she served. Maybe it was about continuing Ben's legacy, about keeping the diner alive as a symbol of the kindness he had always believed in. The next morning, as the sun rose over the snow-covered town, Lily made a promise to herself. She would keep the diner open. No matter the challenges she faced, no matter how tight the money got, she would carry on. She would do it for Ben, for their dream, and for the people who still needed a place where they could feel cared for, even in a world that sometimes felt indifferent. Lily tucked the coin safely into her pocket, determined to live by the message it carried. She didn't know if the stranger would return or if she would ever learn the truth behind his mysterious connection to Ben. But she knew one thing for certain: kindness could change the world, and she was ready to start with Maplewood. Weeks passed in a blur of snowy mornings and quiet nights, and though the diner remained open, Lily felt the weight of its survival more with each day. The regulars had stopped by now and then, but the steady flow of customers that had once filled the diner with life was no longer there. The bills kept piling up, and the loneliness grew harder to bear. Still, Lily persisted. The memory of Ben, his love for the diner, and the stranger's visit kept her going. She couldn't let go of their shared dream so easily. One brisk afternoon, when the wind howled through the empty streets and the snowflakes fell like feathers from the sky, the bell above the diner's door jingled once more. Lily, who had been wiping down the counter with a rag, looked up, expecting another familiar face from town. But it wasn't. The man, the ragged stranger, walked in again. At first glance, he seemed like the same person who had come in weeks ago, gaunt, dirty, and worn by the elements. But as he stepped closer, Lily realized something had changed. His clothes were clean now, his face freshly shaven. His eyes, once filled with sorrow, now gleamed with confidence. The weary, defeated man who had stumbled into her diner was gone, replaced by someone who exuded strength and purpose. He stood at the door for a moment, glancing around the diner with a look of quiet admiration before locking eyes with Lily. A soft smile curved his lips. "Hello," he said, his voice steady but warm. "I've been meaning to come back." Lily, momentarily stunned by the transformation, blinked and then quickly returned his smile. Though she wasn't sure what to say, she still recognized him, but he seemed almost too different. "I remember you," she said cautiously. "What can I get for you today?" The man's smile deepened, and he stepped forward, his hands reaching into the inner pockets of his coat. He pulled out a thick envelope and placed it on the counter. "This is for you," he said simply. "For the diner. I've been thinking a lot about what you did for me." Lily eyed the envelope, but before she could ask any questions, the man spoke again. "My name's Nathaniel," he said, extending his hand. "Nathaniel Carter." She hesitated, but shook his hand, feeling the warmth of his grip and the strength in his palm. Something about his presence felt different. Like he carried the weight of the world, but had chosen to leave it behind. He continued, "I don't know if you remember, but I'm the one you fed a few weeks ago. You showed me kindness when I had nothing to give. I never forgot that." Lily was still trying to piece together the man before her, the ragged, desperate stranger, and the confident, well-spoken man standing in front of her now. She didn't understand it, but she felt an undeniable pull toward his sincerity. I don't know what to say," she admitted. Nathaniel's eyes softened. "You don't need to say anything. I've come to pay you back, in a way that hopefully makes things a little easier on you." He slid the envelope closer to her, and as she opened it, her heart skipped a beat. The envelope contained a large sum of money, far more than Lily had ever seen in her life, enough to cover months of bills and expenses for the diner. For a moment, Lily could hardly breathe. Her hands shook as she held the money, and the weight of the gesture threatened to overwhelm her. She looked up at Nathaniel, her eyes searching for any hint of explanation. "You don't have to take it," Nathaniel added gently, as if sensing her confusion. "But I wanted to show you how much your kindness meant to me. You didn't just feed me that day, Lily. You fed my soul. And it's been a long time since I've felt like someone cared enough to do that." Tears welled up in Lily's eyes as she looked at him, the magnitude of his words sinking in. She had simply offered him a meal, a small act in the grand scheme of things, but it had changed him, had given him something to believe in again. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Thank you," she said quietly, her voice thick with emotion. "I don't know how to repay you." Nathaniel gave her a reassuring smile. "You already have. By being you, by doing what you do here. You're making a difference, and that's more than enough." It wasn't until the week before Christmas that Nathaniel returned to the diner again. This time, there was no hesitation in his step. He entered, dressed in a dark suit, his posture straight and confident, his presence commanding the attention of everyone in the room. Lily's breath caught in her throat. This was the same man, But everything about him had changed. Gone was the disheveled, struggling figure from before. In his place stood someone polished, refined, and undeniably wealthy. Nathaniel smiled at Lily as he approached the counter, his eyes warm and familiar, but there was something else behind them, something deeper. He stood before her, his expression kind but serious. "I think it's time I explained myself," he said, his voice low but steady. Lily, who had been wiping down the counter absent-mindedly, paused and looked up at him, her heart pounding in her chest. "What do you mean?" Nathaniel took a deep breath and leaned forward slightly, his eyes locked on hers. "I didn't tell you the full story before. I owe you that." Lily's curiosity piqued, and she waited for him to continue. "I'm not homeless," Nathaniel said slowly, his words hanging in the air between them. "I'm not someone just passing through, looking for a handout. I'm Nathaniel Carter, and I own several companies. I'm a billionaire." Lily blinked, unsure if she had heard him correctly. Billionaire? The man who had appeared destitute, who had been so grateful for the meal she gave him, was a billionaire? She tried to process the words, but they seemed almost impossible to reconcile with the man she had met weeks ago. Nathaniel saw her confusion and nodded, his face sincere. "I know. It's hard to believe, but I've been living a life where I've been disconnected from real people, from real experiences. I've been chasing wealth for so long that I lost sight of what truly matters. I disguised myself as someone in need, came into your diner as a man who had nothing, to see if anyone would care enough to help, and you did. You showed me what kindness really looks like." Lily's heart raced as his words sank in. "But why?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Why would you do that?" Nathaniel's gaze softened. "Because I was searching for something real. I wanted to see if there was still goodness in the world, something more than just money and power. And when you offered me that meal, without hesitation, I knew I had found it. You made me believe again. You reminded me that people are capable of incredible things when they care for each other." Lily was stunned into silence. She had never imagined that the ragged man who had walked into her diner would be someone with such a story, someone who had everything and yet felt so empty inside. And yet, here he was, standing before her, transformed not just by her kindness, but by his own realization of what truly mattered. Nathaniel smiled, almost sheepishly, as if he knew the magnitude of his revelation. "I owe you more than money, Lily. I owe you a chance to rebuild, to give your diner and your dream a future." Lily's mind was swirling, her emotions tumbling over each other as she tried to make sense of what Nathaniel had just revealed. A billionaire? The man who had been destitute and hungry was, in fact, someone who could buy entire blocks of the town without batting an eye. Yet, the sincerity in his voice and the warmth in his eyes told her this was not a cruel game or a misguided charity case. He wasn't just paying her back for a meal. He had found something in her, in the diner, something that had stirred his soul in a way he hadn't experienced in years. Nathaniel, sensing her internal struggle, stepped forward. "Lily," he said softly, his voice carrying a sense of certainty that made her stomach flutter. "I'm not here to make you feel indebted, but I can't just walk away and leave you with nothing. I've been watching how hard you've worked, how you've kept this place open, even when everything around you seemed to fall apart. Your determination, your spirit, it's rare, and it's something worth protecting." Lily opened her mouth to protest, but Nathaniel quickly continued, raising a hand to stop her. "I'm offering you something, an investment, a partnership. You don't have to decide now, but I want you to think about it. I want to help you make this diner more than just a small-town eatery. I want to turn it into a beacon of warmth and community, a place that not only serves food, but serves as a reminder of kindness, of hope. You deserve that." Lily's heart beat faster, and her mind raced. She had always dreamed of expanding the diner, giving it a bigger presence in the town. But she had never imagined this, an offer from someone with the means to not only help but to transform everything. She felt a mixture of excitement, uncertainty, and fear. Could she really take this step? Could she accept help from someone who had been a complete stranger just a few weeks ago? Nathaniel seemed to sense her hesitation. "I don't want to take over your diner, Lily. This is still your dream. I just want to help you make it thrive, help you reach more people, help you keep the spirit of what Ben and you created alive." We can modernize the place, update the kitchen, add a few touches that will make it more comfortable for customers, but we won't lose what makes this diner special." Lily looked at him, her mind grappling with the enormity of the decision. Nathaniel Carter, a man who had seen the world, who had everything he could ever want, was offering to invest in her little diner. It seemed too good to be true. But as she glanced around at the worn wooden tables, the old jukebox in the corner, the mismatched chairs, and the faded pictures on the walls, she realized something. The diner was more than just a place to eat. It was a symbol of everything she and Ben had worked for. It was a place of connection, a space where people came not just for food, but for comfort, for a little spark of humanity in a cold, indifferent world. If Nathaniel's help could make that spirit even stronger, could bring more people through those doors, maybe it was worth considering. She met his gaze, her eyes soft with emotion. "I don't know," she said, her voice trembling. "It's just, this place means so much to me. I've spent so many years pouring everything into it, into the dream Ben and I had. I don't know if I can accept someone else's help. It feels like I might be giving up on that dream." Nathaniel stepped closer, his presence comforting, yet gentle. "You're not giving up on anything," he said firmly. "You're honoring it. You're building on it. Ben would want you to keep this place alive, to grow it, to share it with even more people. I'm just offering you the opportunity to do that without the weight of financial stress on your shoulders. You've been carrying this burden alone for so long. Let me help." Lily's heart swelled with gratitude, and for the first time in months, she felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe this was the answer she had been waiting for. She had been so focused on surviving, on keeping the diner open, that she hadn't thought about what it could become. Nathaniel's offer wasn't just about money. It was about something far more valuable, the chance to keep Ben's legacy alive in a way she couldn't do on her own. She had never imagined that something so simple, so kind, could change everything. She took a deep breath and nodded, her voice steady now. "Okay, let's talk about what this partnership looks like." Nathaniel smiled, his eyes lighting up with genuine warmth. "I knew you'd see it. I promise you, Lily, this is only the beginning." That night, Lily found herself sitting at the counter, the flickering neon lights casting a soft glow over the empty diner. It was Christmas Eve, and the streets of Maplewood were blanketed in snow, the world outside peaceful and still. The muffled hum of the jukebox was the only sound in the diner, and it felt like a moment suspended in time. She couldn't help but think of Ben. He would have been proud of her for how hard she had fought to keep their dream alive. He had always believed that people needed more than just food. They needed connection, compassion, and a sense of belonging. That was the heart of their diner, and it had kept her going through the darkest times. But now, as she sat there with the envelope of money from Nathaniel on the counter beside her, she realized that maybe it was time to let go of the fear that had been holding her back. Nathaniel hadn't just offered her money. He had offered her a chance to rebuild, to create something even more powerful than what she had started with Ben. She could still honor his memory, still carry his spirit into the future, but she didn't have to do it alone. Lily closed her eyes and thought back to the moment when she had first met Nathaniel, when he had come into the diner hungry and broken. She had offered him a meal, a simple act of kindness, without thinking of the consequences. And yet, that one gesture had changed everything. Not just for him, but for her too. In helping him, she had rediscovered the very thing that had drawn her to the diner in the first place: the power of kindness. The belief that even small acts could ripple out into something much larger than herself. Her hand slid over the envelope, feeling the weight of it, but also the promise it carried. She could feel Ben's presence beside her, as if he were whispering to her that it was okay to accept this, to embrace the help that was being offered. He had always said that life was about more than survival. It was about finding a way to thrive, to grow, to continue moving forward even when it seemed impossible. And now, with Nathaniel's offer, she had a chance to do just that. As the clock ticked past midnight, Lily made her decision. She would take the help. She would accept Nathaniel's offer and allow the diner to grow. She would honor Ben's legacy by expanding the impact of their dream, reaching more people, touching more lives. The diner had always been a place of hope. Now, with Nathaniel's support, It could be a place of transformation. And Lily Matthews was ready for that transformation to begin. With a deep breath, she stood up, the weight of her decision settling into her bones. Tomorrow, they would begin the next chapter of the diner's story, and she couldn't wait to see where it would take them. Christmas morning dawned crisp and clear, with a soft layer of snow covering Maplewood like a peaceful blanket. The streets were quiet, save for the occasional car driving slowly over the slippery roads. The air felt crisp and fresh, a reminder that a new chapter was beginning, one that Lily never could have imagined just a few months ago. As she walked into the diner that morning, a sense of peace settled over her, even as her heart raced with anticipation. Nathaniel was already there, his figure standing tall by the counter as he watched the sun rise outside through the diner's windows. His presence, once unexpected and mysterious, now felt comforting and familiar. He turned as she entered, offering her a warm smile that was full of both respect and excitement. His business suit, usually so formal, seemed softer in the cozy atmosphere of the diner, as if he too was ready to shed the barriers between their worlds. "Good morning, Lily," Nathaniel greeted her, his voice full of warmth. "Merry Christmas." "Merry Christmas, Nathaniel," she replied, her voice steady but full of emotion. Today was the day they would sit down and decide what the future of the diner would look like. She had already made her decision, but hearing Nathaniel's sincerity made it all the more real. "Are you ready to talk about the plan?" Nathaniel gave her a knowing nod, his eyes gleaming with enthusiasm. "Absolutely. Let's make today count." They sat down at the same corner booth where Lily had spent countless hours planning and dreaming with Ben. She could almost feel his presence beside her as she settled in, a calm reassurance that she wasn't alone in this. Nathaniel sat across from her, placing a file on the table, filled with plans and sketches. The diner, the place she had fought so hard to keep alive, was about to undergo a transformation. But Lily wasn't afraid. She was ready. "I've thought a lot about this, Lily," Nathaniel began, his tone serious but filled with excitement. "I don't want to change the heart of this diner. That's not what this is about. I want to keep the essence of what you and Ben built, the warmth, the personal touch, the sense of community. But I also see potential for growth, for reaching more people, and for offering them a space that feels as welcoming as this one does." Lily nodded, her fingers tracing the edge of her coffee cup. She could see it now, the vision he spoke of, the idea of expanding the diner's reach, of making it a place where not just the locals but travelers and people from all walks of life could come and find comfort, felt right. She could already picture the upgrades, a modernized kitchen, brighter lighting, updated decor that still honored the diner's history. "You're talking about making the diner more of a destination," she said thoughtfully, "a place that represents everything we've worked for, but on a larger scale." Nathaniel smiled. "Exactly. It's about honoring the spirit of what this place has always been while creating room for it to grow. I want to help you build something sustainable, something that can endure for years to come, not just as a business, but as a symbol of community." The plan included expanding the menu to offer new dishes while keeping the old favorites that had made the diner famous. Nathaniel envisioned hosting local events, supporting the town's farmers, and making the diner a hub for creativity and connection. "But," Nathaniel added, "we'll keep the same personal touch. The way you interact with every customer, the way you remember their names and their orders. Those things matter. We're not just selling food. We're offering something more." Lily's heart warmed as she listened. She could see it now, the diner thriving, bustling with energy, while still offering the same cozy, familiar atmosphere. A place where people could come not just to eat, but to connect, to share stories, to find solace. She imagined the walls filled with the sound of laughter, the tables filled with both old friends and new faces, all sharing a meal in the spirit of kindness. "I think this is the right path," Lily said, her voice filled with a quiet confidence. "It's the same dream I had with Ben, but bigger, more alive. I can see it now, Nathaniel. I can see this place becoming what we've always wanted it to be." Nathaniel's smile deepened. "I'm glad you're on board. Together, we can make this diner a legacy of hope, kindness, and community. You'll never have to carry this burden alone again." They spent the rest of the day finalizing the details. Lily felt a sense of excitement growing in her chest, tempered by the knowledge that the hard work was just beginning. But for the first time in months, she felt a sense of peace, a certainty that the diner's future was in good hands. More than that, it was a future that honored the love and care that she and Ben had poured into it. As the day wore on, the diner took on a new energy. They made a plan to begin the renovations after the holidays, starting with the kitchen upgrades and updating the seating. Nathaniel's investment would cover all the costs, but it wasn't just about the money. It was about the support, the belief in what she was doing. Nathaniel wasn't just a benefactor. He was a partner, someone who truly understood the value of what the diner represented. That evening, as the last customers trickled out and the diner began to empty, Lily stood by the window, watching the snowflakes fall from the sky. She smiled, her heart full. This Christmas had brought her more than she could have ever imagined. The diner, the dream she and Ben had shared, was no longer just a struggle for survival. It was a living, breathing place of hope, and with Nathaniel by her side, she knew it would only continue to grow. The weeks that followed Christmas were a whirlwind of activity. The renovations began in earnest, with Nathaniel's financial backing allowing Lily to hire a team of contractors, designers, and chefs to help with the upgrades. The work was fast-paced and at times overwhelming, but Lily felt a sense of purpose in every step. It wasn't just about the changes to the building. It was about bringing the spirit of the diner into the future. As the renovations progressed, word of the changes spread through Maplewood like wildfire. Locals were curious about the updates and speculated about the new direction the diner was taking. Many had seen Lily struggle over the years, trying to make ends meet, and they couldn't help but be excited by the possibility of the diner becoming something bigger. Lily worked tirelessly alongside Nathaniel and the contractors, overseeing the design, the menu updates, and the logistics. She spent hours each day making sure the changes stayed true to the diner's roots, while also giving it the modern touches it needed. She was determined to preserve the charm that had made the diner a staple in the town for years, but she was also ready to take it to the next level. The community was counting on her, and she was ready to meet that challenge head-on. As the grand reopening day approached, excitement buzzed in the air. The renovations were almost complete, and the diner was beginning to look more like the vision she and Nathaniel had discussed. The new menu was set, with fresh, local ingredients that paid tribute to Maplewood's farming heritage. But more importantly, the diner was about to open its doors to a new era, one that would invite the community in like never before. The grand reopening was a huge success. The doors of the diner opened, and the first wave of customers flooded in, drawn by the buzz around the new look and menu. It was a place of warmth and comfort, filled with the familiar faces of locals, but now with a fresh energy that welcomed newcomers with open arms. The atmosphere was electric, with conversation, laughter, and the hum of a community coming together. Lily stood at the counter, watching as the customers interacted, laughing, and enjoying their meals. She could feel Ben's presence in every corner of the diner, in every smile exchanged, in every dish served. And she knew that, no matter what, the spirit of kindness that had always been at the heart of the diner would continue to live on. Nathaniel walked up beside her, his eyes reflecting the pride they both felt. "You did it, Lily," he said, his voice full of admiration. "This is only the beginning." Lily smiled, her heart full. "It's more than I could have ever dreamed of." And she knew, deep down, that this was just the start of something incredible, a ripple effect of kindness, hope, and community that would continue to spread throughout Maplewood and beyond. The days that followed the grand reopening were filled with a newfound energy. The diner had become more than just a business. It was now a beacon of community and kindness. People who had once passed by without a second glance were now stopping in, eager to experience the warmth and hospitality that had always been at the heart of Lily's diner. The word was out. This was a place where you could not only get a great meal, but feel part of something bigger. One quiet afternoon, as the sound of clinking dishes and the hum of conversation filled the air, Nathaniel returned to the diner, his regular visits becoming a comforting presence in Lily's day. He'd become a part of the rhythm of her life, offering support and guidance when she needed it, and always encouraging her as she continued to pour her heart into the diner. Lily noticed Nathaniel's pensive expression as he walked in. He'd been quieter than usual to Gamarudin, his eyes reflecting something deeper, something that had been quietly brewing beneath the surface since the renovations began. He made his way to the counter, and Lily, sensing something was different, took a seat beside him. "What's on your mind, Nathaniel?" she asked, her voice soft but filled with concern. Nathaniel paused, staring into his coffee cup before looking up at Lily. His face was serious, but there was something in his gaze, something raw and vulnerable that made Lily's heart skip a beat. "There's something I need to tell you," he said, his voice steady but heavy with unspoken emotion. "Something I should have shared with you earlier." Lily felt her chest tighten. "What is it?" "You know you can tell me anything." Nathaniel sighed, taking a deep breath as though steeling himself for what was to come. He looked around the diner, as if gathering the courage to speak the words that had been weighing on him for so long. Finally, he met her eyes, his expression sincere. "You remember the military challenge coin I left you that day?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lily nodded, the memory of that coin coming back in a rush. It had been a symbol of respect, of kindness, left behind by the stranger who had turned her world upside down. "That coin," Nathaniel continued, "wasn't just a gesture of appreciation for your kindness. It's something much more personal. I was in the same unit as your husband, Ben." Lily's breath caught in her throat as the weight of his words sank in. The connection between Nathaniel and Ben, the man she had loved and lost so tragically, felt surreal. She could barely process it, her mind spinning as she tried to comprehend the full extent of what Nathaniel was telling her. I don't understand," she stammered, her voice shaking slightly. "How could you be in the same unit as Ben? You were." She couldn't finish the sentence, the enormity of the revelation choking her. Nathaniel's expression softened, a deep sadness filling his eyes. "I wasn't there when Ben died," he explained quietly. "But I knew him well. He was one of the kindest men I've ever met. His actions, his belief in the power of small acts of kindness had a lasting impact on me during our time in the military. After we parted ways, I never forgot him. When I found out what had happened, when I learned about the accident, I knew I had to do something." Lily sat in stunned silence, her mind racing to piece together the threads of this unexpected connection. It was too much to absorb all at once, but one thing was clear. Nathaniel's sudden appearance in her life wasn't by chance. It was fate. Fate bringing her someone who had known Ben, someone whose life had been changed by the same man who had shaped her own. "That coin," Nathaniel continued, his voice thick with emotion, "was a tribute to Ben. I left it for you that day because I wanted you to know how much his kindness meant to me, even after all these years. I never expected to find you, Lily, but I'm glad I did. I'm glad I could help you in your diner because Ben's legacy deserves to live on. And now, so does yours." Lily felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes as the enormity of the moment hit her. Here was this man, this stranger, who had been connected to her husband in a way she never could have imagined. His generosity, his support, and his unwavering belief in kindness had not only helped her through the darkest days of her life, but had also tied her to the memory of the man she had lost. It was as if Ben's spirit was alive in every gesture Nathaniel made, in every word he spoke. "Thank you," Lily whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for sharing this with me." Nathaniel nodded, his eyes soft and understanding. "Ben was a good man. He believed in people. And I know he would be proud of what you've done with this diner. You've honored him in ways you don't even realize." Lily's heart swelled with gratitude. As she sat there, absorbing the weight of Nathaniel's words, she realized that this diner, this humble, struggling diner, was no longer just a place to serve food. It had become a living tribute to the love and kindness that had shaped her life and the life of everyone who had walked through its doors. The grand reopening of the diner arrived faster than Lily had anticipated, and as she stood in the freshly renovated space, she felt a mix of emotions. The new, brighter walls and modern fixtures stood in stark contrast to the rustic charm that had defined the diner for so many years. But the soul of the place had remained unchanged. The familiar smell of freshly brewed coffee, the sound of silverware clinking against plates, and the warm greetings from the staff. All of it reminded her of what made this place so special. The doors opened to a steady stream of customers, eager to see what the renovations had brought. The new menu, carefully crafted to reflect the town's local produce, had already been met with enthusiastic approval. The regulars who had supported the diner through thick and thin were back, their faces lighting up as they saw the changes. But it wasn't just the regulars who came. Word had spread, and newcomers from surrounding towns came to see what all the fuss was about. The small-town diner that had once struggled to survive was now bustling with energy, filled with laughter, conversation, and the hum of a community coming together. Lily watched it all unfold, her heart swelling with pride and gratitude. It had been a long, difficult journey, but she had done it. She had kept the dream alive. The legacy she and Ben had built together was now a living, breathing part of the community, and it would continue to thrive, not just as a business, but as a symbol of hope, resilience, and the power of kindness. Nathaniel was there too, standing beside her as they watched the diners enjoy their meals. His eyes were full of admiration, and for a moment, Lily allowed herself to acknowledge how much he had helped her. His belief in the diner, in her, had been the push she needed to turn her dreams into reality. "This is just the beginning," Nathaniel said quietly, as if reading her thoughts. "Together, we've created something that will last. This diner will be more than just a place to eat. It will be a legacy, one that honors Ben and everything he stood for." Lily nodded, her eyes misty with emotion. "It already is, Nathaniel. It already is." The Christmas season had passed, but the spirit of goodwill continued to permeate every corner of Maplewood, thanks to the transformation of Lily's diner. The warmth of the place, coupled with the story of the selfless acts that had led to its resurgence, spread beyond the town's borders. As word of the diner's rebirth traveled, it attracted even more customers from nearby towns, and the ripple effect of kindness began to grow. Nathaniel, ever the quiet observer, watched as the diner flourished. He had always been a man who thrived on efficiency, logic, and business decisions. But he had come to understand something much deeper during his time with Lily. It wasn't just about the financial investment, the renovations, or the new menu. It was about the way the diner had become a symbol of something greater. Lily's generosity, her unwavering commitment to keeping the diner running despite overwhelming odds, had inspired not just the people of Maplewood, but people from all walks of life. It was the simplicity of her kindness, her willingness to give without expecting anything in return, that had sparked a movement of compassion and reciprocity. One afternoon, as the winter sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the diner's windows, Nathaniel sat across from Lily, in their usual booth. She had just finished serving a large group of customers, her cheeks flushed from the warmth of the kitchen. There was a certain glow about her these days, a contentment in her eyes that had been absent when they first met. "What's next for you, Nathaniel?" Lily asked, her curiosity piqued. "You've already helped so much. I can't imagine what else there is to do." Nathaniel smiled, a rare, open smile that spoke of something more than business. "I've been thinking a lot about what you've done here. You've turned this place into a haven for people, Lily, and I think that's something worth expanding. I want to do more." Lily raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "More? You mean like investing in other businesses?" Nathaniel shook his head, his eyes intense with purpose. "Not just businesses. I want to invest in people, in individuals and communities that embody the same values you've shown here. I want to help others who are struggling, who have a dream but don't know how to make it a reality. We've built something special here, and I believe we can spread that spirit of kindness, of generosity to other places." Lily was silent for a moment, absorbing his words. The idea of expanding their reach, of touching even more lives, was both thrilling and daunting. But deep down, she knew Nathaniel was right. This was not just about a diner anymore. It was about creating a legacy, a ripple effect that would continue to grow as long as they kept spreading kindness. "What are you thinking?" Lily asked, her voice soft but filled with determination. "I want to start a foundation," Nathaniel said, his gaze steady. "A foundation dedicated to helping small businesses, individuals in need, and anyone who believes in the power of kindness. I've seen how one simple act of compassion can change everything, Lily, and I want to be part of spreading that change. Lily's heart swelled with emotion as she listened to Nathaniel's vision. She had always believed in the power of small acts of kindness, in the idea that even one person's actions could spark a chain reaction. Now, it seemed that her belief was being shared by someone who had the resources and the drive to make a real difference. "I'm in," she said, her voice resolute. "Let's do it. Let's start the foundation, and let's make sure that the spirit of this diner continues to touch as many lives as possible." Nathaniel's eyes lit up with a mixture of pride and gratitude. "Together, we'll make it happen." And just like that, a new chapter began. With Lily's experience, Nathaniel's resources, and their shared vision of a kinder world, they set to work. The foundation they created would support struggling businesses, provide grants for community projects, and offer scholarships to individuals who needed a helping hand to pursue their dreams. But more than that, it would be a testament to the power of one person's kindness and how it could change the course of many lives. The diner, once a small, struggling business, had become the heart of something much bigger. And now, with the foundation in place, that heart would continue to beat, spreading warmth and generosity far beyond the walls of Maplewood. As the year came to a close, Lily sat at the counter of her diner, looking out the window at the snowflakes drifting softly to the ground. It was Christmas Eve once again, and the town was wrapped in a blanket of snow. The familiar sounds of the diner, soft chatter, the clink of silverware, the sizzle of the grill, were a comforting reminder of how far she had come. Lily's life had changed in ways she had never imagined. Her diner, once a symbol of struggle, had become a symbol of hope. It had become a place where people came not just for a meal, but for a sense of belonging, a reminder that kindness still existed in the world. And as she thought about all that had happened, she couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Nathaniel had been right. This was just the beginning. She thought back to that snowy afternoon when the man had first walked into her diner, cold and hungry, asking for nothing but a warm meal. She never could have predicted how that simple act of kindness would change her life. But now, looking around at the bustling diner, at the faces of the people who came through the doors every day, she knew that Ben's legacy, the legacy of kindness, was alive and well. Lily felt her heart swell with love for the community she had helped create and for the memory of her late husband, Ben. He had believed in small acts of kindness, in the idea that one person could make a difference. And now, through the diner and the foundation they had started, that belief was spreading, touching more lives than she could have ever dreamed. As the clock struck midnight, marking the beginning of a new year, Lily stood up from her seat and looked out the window once more. The snow was still falling, gently covering the ground in a pristine white layer. It felt like a fresh start, a new chapter in a story that was far from over. With a smile, Lily whispered to herself, "This is just the beginning. One meal, one act of kindness at a time." And as she gazed out at the snowy night, Lily knew that Ben was with her, in every gesture of kindness, in every smile that graced the diner's door. His legacy of hope would continue to live on, not just in Maplewood, but everywhere kindness was shared. The diner, and the lives it touched, were proof that even the smallest acts of compassion could leave a lasting impact. And that impact, like the snowflakes falling outside, would spread far and wide, creating a legacy of hope for generations to come. The story of Lily, Nathaniel, and the nourishment of small yet meaningful acts of kindness has come to an end, but it is also the beginning of something that will continue to spread new light. A diner, once a humble place in a small town, has become a symbol of perseverance, compassion, and unconditional love. Each meal served is not just food, but a reminder that in a world full of challenges, one simple act of kindness can change everything. Lily has found strength in herself, and from that strength, she has created a community where people can find warmth, empathy, and faith in the good that still exists in the world. Though there were moments of doubt and struggle, she never gave up, and now she has shown that love and kindness can overcome any obstacle. As for Nathaniel, the once lonely and skeptical billionaire, he has rediscovered his belief in true human connection. Through Lily and the warmth of the diner, he learned that the true essence of life doesn't lie in wealth or success, but in how we treat one another, in how we make a difference in each other's lives. The story doesn't just end here. It's a powerful reminder that while we may be small individuals in a vast world, every kind act, no matter how small, has the potential to create a ripple effect, changing an entire community for the better. Ben's wisdom lives on in Lily, through every meal she serves, every story she listens to, and every person who walks through the diner's door with a heart full of hope. It's a legacy of love, trust, and sacrifice, one that she will continue to nurture and pass on to future generations. As winter fades and spring draws near, no one feels alone anymore. They have found each other in kindness, in shared meals, and in moments of love. And their story, like the falling snowflakes, will continue to touch hearts, spreading hope and warmth forever. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the entire story. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we loved sharing it with you. Your support means the world to us, and we are truly grateful for every moment you've spent with us on this journey. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming tales and inspiring content. Your feedback is incredibly valuable, and we would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. We look forward to sharing more stories with you soon. Until then, stay kind, stay inspired, and thank you again for being a part of this amazing community. See you next time.